Okay, DNA Sports, Dave and Joe, our director, Mike Herrera. We have a special guest. The co-founder of DNA Sports is Andy Pohl, and he's on the phone with us today from Ohio. And we had a question about recruiting. Joe's going to say the question, and then we'll let Andy answer it. Hopefully, we'll be able to fill in some things if we know anything about it.
Yeah, so I think it was last week we had a comment on our YouTube page about recruiting and whether or not necessary evils like perfect game are what is needed for young kids to be recruited for college, or can they get recruited on their own? So basically, we're going to revisit that and talk a little bit about it. Andy, what are your thoughts here?
Well, there's a lot there, Joe. I think at the end of the day, when you look at these showcase companies, and Perfect Game is obviously the biggest and most well known, but there's also there's TPX and there's some other different types of showcase companies that puts on these one day events. But at the end of the day, we have to think about them as what they are and the revenue generators. So they're just trying to pack in as many kids as they can to these showcases. So they're charging $125 a kid or $130 a kid or whatever they charge, maybe more, maybe less. I'm not quite sure. And then when you go on their website, so for example, if you go on Perfect Game's website, they'll tell you all the kids that, for example, Joe Smith went to 3 Perfect Game showcases. He signed with the University of Alabama or University of New Mexico or University of Texas or what have you. The bottom line is those kids were not getting discovered at Perfect Game showcases. They would have been at those big-time schools regardless of what showcase they went to or if they didn't go to any showcase. I think you got to be careful of falling in that trap and thinking that, the only way to get discovered is if you attend a showcase or not.
So you're saying if a kid's going to get recognized by one of those big schools, he's going to get recognized regardless?
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, again, I think there's, or he's going to get recognized at a camp or, someone's going to invite him somewhere, right? I always said if a kid can pick up a rock and throw it 95 miles an hour across the street on a street corner, someone's going to pick him up and find him and recruit him. I think Division I guys are going to get recruited regardless, just because they kind of find a way. They have so much talent that someone's going to discover them and someone's going to see them. So I've always used showcases as a way to, for a college coach to see you in person if they already know who you are. And so, for example, let's say if you're a recruit and you've built up some type of rapport with a college coach, they've seen you on film, and that coach gets back to you and says, look, Joey, I've seen your film. You look impressive. I like your skills on film. I'd like to see you in person, but I can't get to your high school game. But here's some showcase I'm going to be at this summer. And that would be a good opportunity then maybe to go to one of those showcases because you're already in rapport with that college coach, and that college coach is going to be, will be looking for you when you're there. I've attended these showcases before, not as a player, obviously, but I've attended them, and I've seen these coaches. They show up with a list of players. So they have a list of players on their notepad of who they want to watch. And it's about 6 or 7 guys. And when those 6 or 7 guys on their list are not performing, they're not watching. But what's funny about that situation is every coach that walks into those showcases, let's say there's 50 coaches, they're all looking at the same 6 or 7 guys. So the remaining 90 there are just filler. They're just taking up space. And that's what's making that revenue there for those showcase companies. And then what you have is, again, you're looking at, everyone's looking at those same 7, 8 guys. When those 7, 8 guys are not performing, those coaches usually aren't watching.
Well, 5-star.
I guess it's pretty complex.
Well, 5-star camp. Remember, you've heard of 5-star camp, basketball camp, right? With Howard Garfinkel was big in that. I don't know how big it is now, but they would invite all the top players in the country to go there for free, and then you'd have all these other campers basically paying for them. That's exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. But most of their kids are Division III guys. Everyone thinks they're Division I. I don't think people understand how good you have to be Division I. I mean, my benchmark when kids or parents are talking about recruiting and they start talking about Division One, I'm always their kid has to be a draftable player out of high school. I think to even be a realistic Division One prospect, and most kids that I'm dealing with are not that. And Joe, you played Division Three. You could probably test how competitive Division Three baseball is.
Yeah, I mean, playing at that level, you're playing with a bunch of kids who are. They're playing one for the love of the game because they don't get scholarships in D3. So you're still playing competitive. These kids are out there because they want to be there. So it's not even you won't even catch some of the kids playing because they're getting a free ride. They're there because they want to be. And there's some kids that honestly they're missing a few things here and there, and that's what separates them from being at the next level.
Right. And to your point, Joe, and again, most of these kids who have aspirations, this is what kills me. These kids that have aspirations of playing college baseball, and they're realistically maybe Division III prospects, if that. And they go around the country and they spend all this money going to all these camps and showcases with the hope of being discovered, and it's just not going to happen that way.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you work for NCSA, so we've had our discussions about them and how they basically take money and don't do a lot. I mean, because these are all wishing athletes that they hope that somebody sees them and they're good enough to play. Hey, Division III, NAIA, JUCO, but that's what I think all these things are for. Just as an objective observer, everybody knows the Division I guys, and can you get a Division II guy out of that, or a Division II girl out of that, out of these camps and these exposure events, and it's mostly for Division III, NAIA, and basically dreamers, wouldn't you say?
Oh, that you're talking about NCSA stuff?
I'm talking about NCSA. I'm talking about Perfect Game. I'm talking about anything.
Oh yeah. No, it is. It's for the dreamers. The dreamers. You're right. Yeah. That's a great point. I mean, the dreamers are the ones that are forking over the money.
It's so expensive. It's just so expensive. It's such a business.
I don't really understand Division III recruiting. I'm gonna go out and say this. And this will probably be pretty controversial, but I just don't get it, and I don't understand Division III recruiting because.
Well, why don't you ask Joe about that?
Well,
I was gonna ask you first. Right off of there, what about it? Are you saying you don't understand?
Well, I just don't understand what coaches are really recruiting.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because at the end of the day, you have no financial obligation to any of these kids. So, when I hear these kids saying, "Well, I've been recruited by this Division III school and this Division III school," and and I get it. I'd be doing the same thing. I mean, if I was an 18-year-old kid and had aspirations of playing Division III baseball, I would be sending out my video to college coaches at the Division III level too, and I would try to get noticed. I'm not knocking kids for doing that, but what is interesting to me is that, and Joe, you know this,
mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, you have to try out. I mean, because there's no scholarship, so nothing's guaranteed.
Mm-hmm.
The Division III coach can say, "I'm interested," but at the end of the day, that's not going to get you into school. It's your academics going to get you into Division III school. And Joe, you could show up at Beloit, and the college coach wouldn't have any idea who you were. And you could show up at a tryout on the first day, and you would have made the team, Joe, because you were a good ball player.
Yep.
Well, actually, I invited the coach to a playoff game against Taft.
I remember that. Joe hit a leadoff home run.
And that was it for him. He could have gone home after that because as soon as he saw that, he wanted him. But that was just like the coach made an effort to come down there. He didn't have to. He could have just got filmed like everybody else did. But he made an effort. He saw him in person.
Rare, by the way. Very rare.
Yes, very rare. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and that's the one thing I will say. So I don't know if maybe it's just my coach in terms of his unique situation, but he talks about it all the time, how recruiting is like one of the most important aspects, how the season for him is never over because he has to constantly keep recruiting because the next class that comes in is going to help define the next team. So he makes phone calls every single night for 2 hours a night, like from 7 to 9, I think he's making phone calls, calling kids that are interested in coming to the school, calling kids that are playing that he's seen, because he goes to different showcases as well. I know a few months back he was in Arizona at a showcase. He goes to showcases all in the area in terms of the Midwest too, and he makes phone calls to all the kids that he likes that are applying to schools that are like in the area or looking to go to a smaller school like Beloit that's a Division III. So he's making tons of phone calls, just building rapport with kids, just like the way that I would try to reach a coach and contact them to build rapport. He's doing that with all the kids that he likes, and he's doing it with the kids that reach out to him as well, that he sees their video, and then he goes to watch them play just like he did for me. So he's constantly recruiting and looking for the best kids to play, but he's not selling them. I can tell you just from this perspective what he does. He's not selling them on just baseball. He knows the ins and outs of my campus, of my school, of my academic life, everything, the ins and outs of it. So he's selling kids on every aspect of the school, and I think that's where some of the college coaches in the Division III level are successful, because they have found a way to sell the school, because they know that it's a lot more than just baseball when it gets to that level. And so I feel like a lot of the seniors or juniors in high school are like, I'm being recruited for baseball. And maybe they just say that because it's a cool thing to go play college baseball. But really, if they're picking that school, it's not just for baseball, if we're being realistic there. Because, yeah, it's Division III at this point, so you love the game, but there's got to be a lot more about the school that you love other than just baseball if you're going to pick one of these small schools to go to.
Right. Well, and then Joe hits it down the head, because that's how you do it, right? Because, you show up to these schools and you're going there, I'm going there to play baseball, and you're going to some podunk town where a lot of these small Division III schools are, and, not a lot to do on campus, and so, what if baseball doesn't work out, or what if you don't like baseball, if it's supposed to have the academics you want? And so I think what you're describing is your previous coach at Beloit, he's recruiting against other schools.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're all recruiting the same kids, right? And he's probably, we're looking at 4 or 5 different Division III schools similar to Beloit. But, the fact that the Beloit coach came out and watched you play and sold the school on you, that was probably the deciding factor.
Exactly.
So that's really important. But, I listen to some of these kids and some of these families, and they talk about, how they're being recruited by this school and that school, Division III level. And in the back of my mind, I'm almost saying, but nothing's guaranteed. So the college coach at the Division III level can say anything they want to say. They can say, I want you, you're impressive, you have an opportunity to start for me. They show up on day one, and they can cut.
Yep.
Because there's no financial obligation.
Or you could be on the team and literally just never play. None of it doesn't matter either way.
Right. And so then I'm thinking about, okay, all these kids that are Division III kids that are spending so much money to go to all these different showcases and camps, and they're at best Division III prospects. I'm almost kind of thinking, would it be better, make more sense from a common sense perspective and from a financial perspective, just to pinpoint 5 Division III schools that you like, that you think that would be a great fit for you academically, and then you pick the school based on that first, and then you just show up to the tryout, and if you're a good ball player, you're a good ball player. And you can do it that way, and you can be successful, or you can do it, Joe. You did, Joe. You made a video, you sent it out, and you find some coaches that were interested in you, and then you made it happen that way. There's just more affordable ways to do it, and more common sense ways to do it. I mean, NCSA, their way is you give them $2,500. They put a video and a profile together, and they blast it out to 2,000 schools. And it's nothing more than junk mail. That just seems like, a waste of $2,500. I think what Joe described is a personable relationship that Joe developed with his coach. And at the end of the day, recruiting, whether you're the coach, whether you're the student athlete, or the parent for that matter, it's about relationships.
Yep, 100%. I mean,
it's not about spending money.
Yeah. I mean, my coach, for example, when his dad also coached there, so there was kind of like it was like in his family to be there. And so his dad was the athletic director. He's in the Hall of Honor, stuff like that. So when kids would come to visit, he has all these stories about the school to tell, about all these different recruits, all the different people that came through the hallways, how you can find yourself there in all these different ways, not just in the sport, but in the academic world and everything. And so that's when I was like, oh, this place seems pretty welcoming. This is more like a place where I can come to fit in and, figure out what I want to do with my life. And I can tell you, when I went on to a visit to Virginia for baseball as well as another small school, the school was horrible. It sucked. The visit sucked. Just going around on campus, I was like, this is not for me. It wasn't as inviting. And then I went to Beloit on my next visit, and thanks to Danny Carell, he told me I should check it out. And then next thing I know, I'm attending Beloit, and it was awesome. So it really is a lot more than just a sport. And I can tell you that the kids that I played with, or the horror stories that we all hear, the kids that stop, it's because they chose that school for too much relying on the sport.
Yeah.
And again, Joe just said one of the players, so one of our ex-players, went to Danny Carell. For those of you who are listening and don't know who Danny Carell is, he was a catcher for Beloit, and he was a year ahead of Joe, and he helped sell the school to Joe. And so that's players do that too. Andy, we used to have an education package for recruiting for DNA. Tell us the elements that stand out, that you talk about all the time, that you tell prospective college players through that recruiting package.
Well, I think we already hit one of the major nails on the head, and that's you're picking a school for your academics come first, and you're picking schools that you feel like you can be a good fit. They've done studies across the board: baseball, football, basketball, whatever sport it is, boys sports, women's sports, and 3/4 of kids that enter college athletics as freshmen. So 3/4, 75% that enter as freshmen are no longer playing that sport by their senior year. So 3 out of every 4 kids drop the program. So you have to think about that statistic and understand, again, to Joe's point, that you're going to the school for other reasons besides sports, because the statistics will show that you're not going to be playing all 4 years.
Yep.
So that's really important. I think the second thing that I really want to stress to these guys on the academic side, and NCSA, well, a company like NCSA, recruiting organizations, they'll push, and they'll say that anyone can play college sports, and that's just the furthest thing from the truth. College sports is hard. It's not like high school. It's a bigger commitment. You're away from campus, and let's just say baseball, is a big, that's what we're talking about here, but, for the most part, you play baseball, you're baseball in high school, you get out of class at 3:15, you jump on a bus, get a 25-minute bus ride, and you're home by 7. And college baseball is just not like that. You're gone for days upon days, sometimes weekend trips. You're missing class, you're missing lab. You have to make up that work some way. You have to make grades academically. You're missing out on a lot of social situations where your buddies are going out on Friday and Saturday night. You have to be in bed because you have to get up at 7 in the morning for a baseball game and get on a bus. It's just a different level of commitment at the collegiate level that I just don't think high school kids are prepared for that, nor are they prepared for the type of coaching they're going to get. Because coaches at the collegiate level are a little bit different than the high school level, where, if they don't win, they don't survive. And so they're going to put a lot more pressure on kids. And some kids just can't handle that type of feedback and that type of tone. And so I think it's really important for kids to understand that before they even embark on this journey of, hey, I want to play college athletics, whether it's baseball or any sport. You have to understand the commitment level involved and what you're signing up for. And I think a lot of kids are really misinformed about that.
Yeah, 100%. I don't know where it comes from, where they just get this false sense of capability, not even in terms of playing baseball, just having your priorities together, because it really is from, when I played baseball and football, nothing's consistent. Practice times could change. Sometimes it's in the morning, sometimes it's at night, sometimes it's at 9 at night, sometimes it's at 4 in the afternoon. Other times you're up at 5 in the morning. Things could happen. Things could change. You just have to learn how to adjust. And there's just it's like a well-run business that's not there for revenue. I mean, coach would be calling us into office to see how we're doing, to make sure our head's right, to make sure we're doing okay, to make sure we're going to be able to play, making sure we're feeling okay. It's just so much more going into it than just playing baseball. It's a commitment on a whole other level. And when you talk about missing classes, now you have to build a relationship with professors and teachers, because they need to be able to. You need to have them in your pocket when it's time to say, "Hey, I put this work in ahead of time. I sit in the front of the class. I ask questions. I raise my hand, and now it's time for me to miss class." And they're going to be like, "You know what? So and so is a good student. I'll help him make it up," or he'll be able to put the extra work in to get to where he needs to be. But a lot of kids think that they could just show up and it's going to be a breeze, like whatever movie they might be watching on TV, and it's nothing like that unless you're Division I and you got tutors on the bus.
Well, right. I mean, again, Division I's a whole different animal. When you're getting paid, you're getting paid to be on campus to play your sport. You're going to be treated a lot differently. You're going to have a lot more perks.
Exactly.
But I mean, I think Joe, you can probably attest. I mean, serving on Coach Rosine's coaching staff, I've seen it firsthand, and I've learned from him. Coach Rosine built that type of level and demanded a high level of accountability and responsibility to 16 to 18-year-old kids in high school. I mean, and for one reason, of course, it's a life skill that you need to take with you. But, obviously from a baseball perspective, it's preparing you for the next level. And I'm sure, Joe, you were very prepared when you went to Beloit because of Rosine.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, Coach, how many kids do you think you would say since you started at Jones probably went to play college?
20.
20? How many would you say finished the 4 years?
20.
20?
So you're defying the odds there, Dave. But I mean, that says a lot about your program, right? I mean, that just says the type of program that you run, the type of coach you are. Because I bet there's not a lot of coaches that can say that they're running 100%.
Yeah, good players, and you just have to point them in the right direction about accountability. Like you said, accountability, responsibility, understanding the game from a physical level and a mental level. And a lot of these kids just love the game, and I knew they weren't quitters, and I knew they'd do whatever they take to maximize their skills, and that's what they did.
And I feel like a lot of the situation with recruiting and the reason a lot of these places have, such a large amount of revenue is because the kids or the parents, in terms of guiding their kids, they don't have enough self-awareness to just be realistic with the situation, right? So maybe you're not good enough in this moment to be a Division I, or maybe you're not good enough ever, who knows? But there's nothing wrong with going to play Division III baseball if you still love to play baseball. And let's say you put in a ton of work and suddenly you're a beast. If you can transfer, you can transfer. Some kids will get drafted out of Division III. Things happen, but I think in the moment it's just important for kids and parents to have some self-awareness and realize the situation instead of just thinking that money's going to get them through something that it won't get them through, and go through all these showcases and end up with nothing really. Disappointment.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I think the point of playing is to play at a level where you can play. I mean, you take, there's some cases where you have kids that will be a scholarship player. They have the opportunity to play at a Division II school, let's say, and they can get marginal playing time at the Division II level, or they can get a lot more playing time at a Division III or NAI. I think that's an easy choice. You take the playing time. But again, people's egos get in the way. And I think it's just ego and insecurity. But I think, it goes back to, the old, why are you playing sports? And I think, at the end of the day, why kids play sports, every time they've done any type of survey, so why kids want to play sports, and they put out all these different, reasons to play college athletics, or to be a professional, or, to win games or win championships. The overwhelming majority is, and every study has shown that most kids put down because they have fun. That's what they want to do. I mean, kids want to that's what playing is fun. Sitting on the bench is not fun. And so I'd rather go play than sit. If I
Yep, I agree.
Without a doubt. Fun is it.
All right. Well, I think that wraps it up in terms of answering the question on recruiting here, right?
Yeah, you have anything else to say, Andy? Anything to add?
No, I think recruiting is a really complex it's a really complex world out there. And you have these gurus. I think they call them these recruiting gurus that tell you they know everything there is to know about recruiting, and I think it's really hard to do that. I think recruiting is not an exact science. It's different for every kid. Every student athlete has a different experience with it. It's a landscape that just continues to change. I don't think there's any right way to do it. But I mean, I think programs like NCSA and Perfect Game are trying to sell you on a system. And Dave, we talked about this as coaches. Systems break down. Systems fail. I think when you really want to look at recruiting, and it has to be very individualized, you have to really kind of look inward and say, what can I afford? How good am I? What's my ceiling look like? Where am I right now? What are some schools that make sense? I think everything has to be an individual approach. And I think if you look at it that way, you're going to be successful. But if you look at it like, well, I have to follow this system, or I have to get to this showcase, or I have to go to this camp, or I have to play for this travel team because this travel team plays in this tournament, I think that's really the wrong way to do it. And I think you're just, and I say the wrong way is like, in a way that you're gambling. It's like you're just throwing stuff to the wind and hope that something sticks, instead of kind of making a more, an individualized approach to it. And so I think that's really the key when you look at recruiting.
Yeah,
individualize everything.
I didn't go. I personally did not attend a single camp or showcase, and I still played baseball in college. I did play travel ball. It wasn't because it was so important for college or anything like that. I played because you told me that it was going to be really competitive, and I wanted to play.
He played Legion Ball. Remember that, Andy? Legion Ball. American Legion Ball was one of the best avenues for high school kids who were advanced in the country for a long time. And Legion Ball has disappeared, basically.
Yep, and it was pretty fun. It was pretty damn fun. There was
I watched him play, and Joe played against college players when he was a junior in high school. You don't think that helped? It helped. It certainly helped him his senior year.
And it probably didn't cost a lot of money either. He probably didn't do much traveling. It's all localized.
No, it was really good. They traveled the northwest suburbs of Chicago. It's like it was great to watch. I mean, and a lot of his friends played on that team, and it was really enjoyable to watch. And they didn't have to travel or spend tons of money, and the coach helped them out. God rest his soul. And it was quite good. And a lot of my ex-players played for him.
That's that common sense approach that just kind of is just gone now. Unfortunately,
it's gone.
And I think it's gone because people have realized that there's money to be made on baseball. And
it's a business, right, Coach? It's a business.
Selling lives. They're just selling lives to kids. It's saying you have to do this. If you want to play college ball, you have to go to Perfect Game. You have to play travel ball. You have to work with this private trainer. You have to train all year round. And it's just bloodsuckers out there stealing money from parents. And everyone's involved. Everyone's guilty. And it's unfortunately, it's ruined our game. It's ruined our sport. And it's ruined our families. Yeah.
I mean, we played against this team today. It was my lower level team. And they're in the same league as us. And one of the dads who's coaching with the head coach said, can you tell me what showcase to go to? Because my kid's a sophomore. He's never played varsity, mind you. And there's a lot of pressure on him. And I went to this, we checked out this one showcase, and there was like 300 kids there. And, they're all paying like, $2,000 or $1,500. I said, don't go to any of them. He's coming off an arm injury. He's a marginal prospect. Who knows what kind of prospect he is? He's never played varsity baseball.
This was the team you played against?
Yeah, with this team we played against today, and he struck out twice against our pitching. I said, why don't you let the kid grow? Why don't you let me see him in fall ball? Why don't you give him 1 year of varsity play? They're already worrying about showcases and camps. It's such garbage. It's so out of control. And it's a damn business. That's all it is.
In the islands, they have
Where?
Dominican Republic. They have showcases in the Dominican Republic.
In Venezuela? In Nicaragua? In Mexico?
No, here's the difference, right? And I'm getting kind of continuing this, but I think it's important to have this conversation. Is that if you have a 17-year-old kid in the islands in the Dominican Republic, you have a 17-year-old right-hander who's throwing 84 miles an hour, but he has good mechanics and he's got a long body and he's throwing 84. They consider him projectable because he's 17. He hasn't fully grown yet. You have a 17-year-old kid throwing 84 miles an hour in America. He's not even getting a good rating at perfect game. He's considered, not even barely a prospect. He's a Division III prospect.
Yeah.
America just doesn't get it. They don't understand. In its American baseball, they want these showcasers. They want finished products at 16, 17, 18. They don't understand projectability at all.
That's why they're only getting so few.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's easy to pick out Mike Trout, Chris Bryant, Bryce Harper. It's easy to pick out those guys. They can go on any travel team they want. Try developing middle of the road kids into professional players or even college players. Now that's the challenge. And how does that happen? It happens by, first of all, you have to have some innate talent. Then you have to have somebody to develop that talent. And that's what we're talking about. And all the bloodsuckers care about is getting those middle of the road kids to spend $2,000 to $3,000 on their travel team or their exposure camps. It's a bunch of garbage.
Yep.
Well,
I think we've exhausted this topic.
It was a great topic, and I'm hope we've enlightened some people about not spending their money so fast, and just being aware of companies like NCSA, who you work for, who my stepson works for, and so I'm well aware of what they do, and Perfect Game and Top Tier and the ranchers, and they're all out to make money, and they're not very they don't help many people other than themselves. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I think by the end of the day, it really just boils down to, if you're a player or a coach, if you want to compete, compete. If you want to play, play. That's it. If you're good enough, you'll be good enough to go wherever you're going that matches your needs.
Yeah,
Great point, Joe.
yeah. Your point was, how much money do Dominican Republic kids and Venezuelan kids and Mexican kids and Puerto Rican kids, how much money do they have to spend on travel ball or be seen at exposure camps?
No, they don't. They just get good
They just
coaching.
play, man. Joe and I were talking about it last week.
Coaching.
Well,
Every pitch that an American kid throws is a high-profile pitch. It's a high-pressure pitch.
true.
We have these kids throwing tournaments and playing in these tournaments in the fall, winter, spring, whatever. They're playing all year-round tournaments. Down there, they're just playing, and they're playing in low-stakes games where they can fail, they can learn from their failures, and they can develop.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not the way we have it. That's not the way we have it set up here in the States.
Yeah, we talked about that last week.
That's why they're so afraid to fail, too.
Yeah, we talked about that last week where Joe and I played, and you did too, all sorts of different types of baseball, between wiffle ball and rubber ball and getting your own games together. We didn't need any parents for it. We just did it. We organized our own games. What do you think those teams down in Latin America do? I mean, that's what they do. I mean, and what was wrong with that? We had a lot of great players back in the old days, now, when you have these travel teams, you have one or two pitchers and you burn them out. By the time they get to an age where they're draftable or where they can go to Division I, their arms are burned out. Okay? I mean, there were so many more kids that can throw back when I was playing. There was 9 kids that can throw other than just 2. So it's really degenerated into just a whole mess of garbage. I said garbage again. And I want to say something different too, but it's a family show.
You know what, Mike? That's what I want to title this this episode. Garbage. Recruiting. Garbage.
That's it. Recruiting. Garbage.
I enjoyed calling it tonight as always. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah, we'll pick it up next week, and thanks, Andy, and hopefully you'll be a regular on this show. You're supposed to be, but it's you have other responsibilities, but no bigger challenge than making DNA Sports the leader in sports consulting. So thanks, Andy.
I'm here. Appreciate it.
All right, Andy. Take care.
All right, take care, guys.